Hey guys, it's Sue. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I am going to review this Swanicoco's 곰표 밀가루 cushion, which basically means the flower cushion. Flower not as in lilies and roses, but flower as in cakes and bread, which I think is better. And it's called the flower cushion because it actually has flour in it and it's there for a brightening effect, but I'll get to that later. This was recently labeled as the #1 cushion of 2019 by the program called 뷰라벨, which is a program off of Get It Beauty, which is a very famous and popular beauty program in Korea. Now before I get started with the review, I would just like to share with you guys how the program 뷰라벨 chose this cushion as #1. So first they picked 30 cushions based off their popularity. They had to be very highly ranked in these beauty communities, 3 biggest beauty communities in Korea, and also the ingredients or the packaging or something had to be renewed. So they did select 30 relatively new cushions, and of the 30 cushions they also had the 정성모 cushion, the Moonshot microset fitting cushion, and they also had the MAC cushion, Makeup Forever cushion. So they had a lot of great cushions for the nominees. And with these 30 cushions, the first thing they did was eliminate any cushions that contained any of the 8 ingredients that was considered harmful by this program. It was selected by them. So these ingredients included parabens, fragrances, oxybenzone. The next trial, the set of tests they ran on these cushions that remained was that they tested for the hydration level, so the sebum control, and also longevity. Now with the hydration, Swanicoco, this cushion right here, placed #1. For the sebum control, it was a Dr. Jart cushion, and then for the longevity, the MAC cushion was the #1. For the last set of tests, they tested for 잡티 커버력. 잡티 basically means like the small blemishes, sunspots, tiny blemishes around your cheeks. And at the end of all these strings of tests, Swanicoco, this 곰표 밀가루 cushion, placed #1. So yeah, I definitely wanted to share with you guys how they picked this cushion, just because it was different from how I thought it would be. So the other day I was watching the program and it definitely got me hooked, and I was dying to try this out. So I got it for myself and I tested it out for a couple of days, and I think I can share with you guys how I feel about this cushion. Alright, before we get started with the review, let me just tell you guys my skin type. I do have combination skin. My T-zone is oily, while my cheek areas are a bit more drier. And I would also like to mention that the weather is getting really hot these days. So I am feeling less of the dryness on my skin in general. And also, I would like to mention that I sweat a lot. I have sweat-prone skin, as I would like to call it, which means that I do sweat more than other people, I've noticed, especially my forehead, which makes my T-zone even more oilier. Yes, I know, very attractive. And also my skin tone is naturally 22. It's somewhere in between 21 and 23. And so I just like to reach out for number 21 just to brighten up my complexion. And also my neck shade is brighter than my face shade. So in order to match that, I do reach out for number 21. So yeah, let's get started with the review then. So this cushion is called, like I said, the flower cushion. And this was actually a collaboration between 곰표, the brand 곰표, which is a flower company. Once again, not in the flower as in roses, but the flower with cakes and bread. So they did a collab and came out with this very retro looking, analog stylish cushion, and I thought the packaging was really cute. And once you open it up, you just get a regular puff and a regular cushion inside. So it's not the mesh type ones, no nets or anything. Now as for the shade, they only have one shade, number 21. I know, gasp, shocking, right? I mean, it's 2019 and they only have one shade. I mean, come on guys, come on. Maybe they only chose to do one color because it was like a limited thing, one-time thing. I actually don't know why, but yeah, that was a huge bummer. Luckily for me, the number 21 shade works great on my skin. It's what I have on right now, and it just brightens up my overall complexion, and it matches my neck tone really well as well. But yeah, that's a huge bummer that they only have one shade. I mean, gasp, right? As for the application itself, I actually really liked how it went on. It's the mochi types that I really like, where it feels very squishy, and the product just settles really well against the skin. Nothing like dwells on top, nothing is emphasizing my pores, and the sensation of how it applies on is very nice. This is definitely a transparent formula. This is not an opaque formula like, for example, the Moonshot microset fitting cushion or the Hera UV cover mist cushion. I hope I got that name right. It's a definitely sheer transparent one, but it's not the lightest. You can definitely, when you apply it on your skin, you can definitely tell that it's there, somewhere in between like a sheer and a medium formula. But I think a lot of people will enjoy this because it's not suffocating or heavy at all. And given its sheer and light formula, this does not have a full coverage. This is only to an extent where it covers up the redness, dark circles a bit, and also tiny blemishes like sunspots. But it doesn't cover up any hyperpigmentations, any post-PIEs either. So this is, like I said, it has a pretty sheer coverage, but it definitely does brighten up your complexion. And as you build that on, you can definitely get more of that brightness. I would say this kind of gives you that healthy amount of glow, just as you would have put on a nice moisturizer. It's not overly dewy or anything. And if I had tested out this in the winter, I would have been more lenient to agree that this has a 촉촉 보송 finish, which means, you know, hydrating on the inside and then velvet or like very matte on the outside. And that was the description of the finish it had on the website. But just because it's definitely more warmer right now, I would definitely say that this has a very moisturizing finish. Yeah, it's definitely moisturizing. It's the cushion I have on right now. So just feels like I said, you did a good routine of skincare. Now, as for the longevity, I do think I have picked the worst time to test this out. It does not hold up well under sweat and sebum. So it's been definitely getting hotter, and on those really hot days, this just completely melted under my sebum, and it did leave a tiny trail. Didn't like disappear completely, but it wasn't overly messy. So it was just something that I could maybe take my fingers and just kind of blend it out. On the colder, rainy days, it actually did hold up better, and it actually looked pretty well even after a couple of hours. And it just seemed to settle really nicely on my skin on those colder days. So I think if you have dry skin in this kind of weather, this would be perfect for you. Or maybe if I had tried this out in the winter or like the beginning of spring, the chilly spring, I would have enjoyed this way better in terms of longevity. But yeah, this is definitely not a cushion that I would reach out for right now because it's so much more hotter and I am sweating right now. I am the abnormal one, guys. Also, I would like to mention that, alas, this was one of the two cushions that had ever settled into my smile lines, even though it has a pretty light sheer formula. So when I try out a cushion or a foundation even, rarely do they settle into these smile lines I have right here. But this one did settle my smile lines, even on the hot days, the cold days. So that was a big no-no. And the other cushion that ever settled into my smile lines was a Romance Zero cushion, which a lot of you guys are actually requesting for a review of it. But that one settled like crazy into my smile lines. And yeah, with this one as well, it also settled into my smile lines. So in conclusion, I wouldn't necessarily say this is a bad cushion, but it definitely did not live up to my expectation with the label of being the #1 cushion of 2019. I guess I was just a little disappointed because it didn't blow my mind away, like for example the 정선무 noodle cushion does. But it's definitely not a horrible, terrible cushion. But I think a more appropriate label for this would be just like a nice tone-up cushion, because it actually brightens up your complexion really well, and it doesn't have that conventional stiff feeling that tone-up products usually have. But this one actually does a really good job in spreading out your face on your face. So I think this would be great to just lightly use when you're just going out to, I don't know, the park just for a nice walk, or just meeting up with friends very casually and you don't want to go, you know, full on face. I would describe this cushion as the kid in class who wasn't the smartest, who wasn't the most popular, but was a sweet kid who was just friends with everybody, and no one really seemed to hate it. Which is funny because I feel like I was that kind of kid back in high school. That was it for this video. I hope you guys liked it. If you have tried this cushion out, let me know how you guys feel about it. I would definitely love to hear some of your opinions about this cushion as well. That's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to press like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in my next. Ciao!